To conclude our AI-powered productivity segment, we have an insightful panel on going beyond AI and exploring the frontiers of the next technological paradigm. Please give a round to Lisa Suluj, our founding general partner at R3I Group, who will moderate the discussion and invite the panelists. The stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the most exciting 30 minutes of the Nexus panel today. We've all been talking about what's happening now, but I'd like to ask you to reflect on what might happen after the revolution. And before that, I'd like to just set the context. Today we have quantum computers that are literally performing operations on what would take classical computers more than 10,000 years. It just blows my mind. We have synthetic biology that is literally reprocessing our cells as we speak. And today we can predict exactly what kind of illness you might get and treat you before you get sick. The world has never been better, and I'm proud to have invited on stage 3 of the leading thought leaders across Europe that are helping to set the stage for what comes next. First, I'd like to introduce to you Fabrice. Fabrice is laying the 6G infrastructure that is going to make AI possible. Hand over to you, Fabrice, to introduce yourself.
So I'm Fabrice Sancho, very pleased to be here in Real, because maybe it will not last forever with all the progress we will make in the future. And I'm here indeed to represent the connectivity part that will enable the changes we will talk about during this panel. Very pleased to be here.
Thank you, Fabrice. And Fabrice joins us from Belgium, for all those from Belgium in the room. And Zara joins us from the UK. Zara Ghazoui is using AI to compress drug discovery from decades down to years. Over to you.
Thank you, Lisa. So thank you, everyone, for staying this late. It's lovely to see so many of you. And I'm Zara Ghazoui. I lead digital innovation and AI within healthcare space, in particular oncology. So cancer research is the topic that I'd like to talk to you about today. But more importantly, that intersection of digital, data and AI together pushing forward cancer and cancer therapies.
And finally, Gustav Kalbe, who's shaping how Europe will govern technologies that don't even exist yet through the realms of supercomputing.
Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm a director in the European Commission, responsible for many of the high-tech domains that we have. Supercomputing, AI factories, and now moving to the gigafactories, but also quantum computing and associated the responsibility for the CHIPS Act. And it's quite impressive to see how together with the member states in the last 8 years, first we managed to bring the European Union back in the World League of Supercomputing, which enabled us to embrace and start last year the next move to make the European Union also the AI continent by launching the AI factories, which now we are going to expand to the next level, moving to the gigafactories. And in parallel, we have been installing quantum computers into the network. So always putting Europe at the forefront of digital technologies and capabilities.
So the first act we're going to talk about today is called The Next Paradigm. I'm going to open up the floor to Fabrice. Fabrice, Ericsson is building the nervous system of our connected future. You're a community leader in mobile pioneering. From your perspective, how could mobile technology create a completely new paradigm in the way AI is impacting everybody here's life?
Thank you, Lisa. So maybe one example is that today we are enjoying a very good panel, very prestigious panel, in real face. But maybe in the future, we will all sit somewhere. I will decide, I will be present via an avatar. You will join me from whenever around the world. And this will be enabled by the strong combination of mobile connectivity, cloud, and of course, AI. But before we get there, this means that to enable all this revolution you talk about, we will need to be able to collect data, process the data, in real time via very powerful cloud technology and collect the data from any living being and any object around the world. The advanced AI future will require then advanced mobile connectivity everywhere. And when we talk about connectivity, we can think about fiber. Satellite connectivity will have for sure made a lot of progress, but mobile networks will still be there. And this is where 6G come into place. 6G will not only be ultra secure, will be ultra energy efficient, but with data rate up to 1 terabytes per second, with latency lower than 1 millisecond. It will enable a use case like the one I mentioned in the opening, like live interaction in a fully virtual world. And maybe, I don't know how many of you know about Isaac in the room. Did you hear about Isaac in 6G? I don't see a lot of hands raised. Isaac is integrated sensing and communication. Basically, this is about the ability for 6G network to act as a radar, to be able to sense objects, and not only connected objects that will emit a signal, but also moving trees, animals. The Isaac will enable to process and to bring into the cloud the data of the unconnected. And then you can think about such use cases like you are driving in a storm, you have little visibility, a tree is about to fall, an animal is going to cross the road, then the network will sense that and will send a signal to your car who will stop it. So this is the type of revolution that will come to us. So the new paradigm that 6G is introducing, Alyssa, is mainly that by connecting everything everywhere, 6G will enable AI application to connect and to enable interaction between all the environment. And many like to say that by then we will live in a cyber-physical continuum, and this is really the new reality ahead of us.
It opens up so many opportunities for context analytics, and that also opens up the notion of context analytics for security. I'm thinking gunshot detection, keyword detection, scream detection, crash detection at your local intersection.
And you're fully right, because 6G is also AI native technology, which also foreseen the way it will be created to embed this very high security level.
And 1 terabyte on the edge is super exciting. I know my gaming friends in the room. I get very excited about that. I'm going to hand it over to you, Gustav, because you're living at the bleeding edge of dual use case. Today, you're at the epicenter of European technology policy, dealing with technologies that science fiction hasn't even imagined, but that we all hope is going to keep us safe. Here's the big question: what paradigm comes after AI?
Yeah. We are now just starting to understand what AI can do and where it's useful. I mean, we have to overcome this hype of a year, 2 years ago, where we had this ChatGPT breakthroughs and so on. So we will now see how with the uptake of AI, this will pervade into a number of daily applications. And then to make really the biggest sense out of AI is to move away from the simple, let's say, data crunching approach, trying to extrapolate and finding patterns, to come to the next stage where you would go more on the reflection stage, on the thinking of what would be in the future by not only making averages from the past. And that's where the full power really of AI will come once we can successfully run this on quantum computing architectures, which have a totally different logic of functioning, which are not deterministic, which are not binary. But if you have the same question several times, you might get different replies, because a quantum computer will always look for an optimum answer. It doesn't have to be always the same, because that's this uncertainty you have in quantum. So that's when you get also some unpredictable results, because you are getting away from this deterministic logic that we now have with the AI.
And we get really excited about the notion of quantum-enhanced space precision mining here in Luxembourg. The possibilities of discovering raw metals or rare earths across the world that we haven't quite yet discovered, or even just water as the world goes into water scarcity. But on the topic of medicine, Zara, you're already at AstraZeneca living on the bleeding edge of drug discovery. Tell us more.
Absolutely. So thank you, Lisa. Great question. So I'm going to focus on cancer. And to start with, I'd like to ask a question to the audience. So could you please put your hands up if you know a cancer patient going through cancer currently, or somebody in your network, family, friends, loved ones, who's had cancer previously? That's extraordinary. So every time I do this in the room, I get pretty much 99% of proportion amongst the audience. So you can see that the impact is real. It touches on all of us. If not us as patients, it touches on all our loved ones. So with that in mind, the great news is AI and digital is actually really advanced in the cancer space. And we're very fortunate in cancer because we had the Human Genome Project sequenced a couple of decades ago, actually from Cambridge in the UK. So we've had a huge amount of data from cancer patients and different types of data, and we're in a very, very fortunate position to actually now use the technology to do three things. Number one is to, and that's fascinating, is to be able to not only investigate huge amounts of data in silo, but bring it all together. So we're actually now using AI and digital to integrate and investigate different data types, different modalities. And I'm going to give some examples. So we have clinical data, we have genomic data from that very patient, and we have other types, imaging data, such as if you look at breast cancer, we use breast cancer images. We also use lung cancer images. And it's a fantastic place to be when it comes to integrating different data sets from the very same patient to be able to give what we call precision medicine. So that medicine is personalized and it's customized based on your own DNA, and it can't be more personal than that. So that's the sort of things we're doing in terms of drug development and coming up with new, innovative drugs to deliver to cancer patients. The other thing where we use in cancer is, the other thing where we use in AI is in clinical trials. So one of the challenges we have in clinical trials is they tend to be in the big centers, the global hubs. So we're now using data and AI to be able to reach out new centers where we can recruit diverse types of patients. Because let's face it, and that's the reality, cancer does not discriminate. So our therapies need to be addressing every cancer patient. And our game there with AI and data is treating the right patient with the right therapy at the right time.
Wonderful. And for all of you who've had family that have suffered from cancer, these new therapeutics are really leading the way in personalized medicine. Now, right now we've talked about the convergence of AI, cloud, and advanced connectivity. But without purpose, there's an argument that it's just electricity. So how could we address the sustainable goals as we move forward, Fabrice, as part of the world rolls back from the notion of climate change? What possibilities exist through our use of technologies?
Here, what we can mention is that every tech actor I know about have in their priorities to reduce the energy consumptions of their device generation after generation. If we talk about Ericsson, for example, year after year, we try to reduce by at least 20% of the energy consumption for the same equivalent type of device. Now, we can wonder if, and it will be the case, and it is the case also for data center. Of course, there can be a debate, will the progress in energy consumptions will ever be enough to compensate the immense rise on data processing? I believe it's possible, but maybe more down to earth. If you can look at the way ICT progress, connectivity, AI can impact and contribute to the good of the planet. That's what you talk about at the end of the day. So a very basic one maybe is also to refer what I was mentioning in the introduction. If you imagine that via AI, via holograms, via technology that will allow you to sense and be present with your friends wherever you are, Zara, next week or next month, we could meet and we could brainstorm together, and I could introduce you to some of the maybe people I know, and same on your side. But you could imagine as well on one day attending to a concert with millions of avatars that you can interact with, attend to the same event with friends. We are not on the same place or same country as you are. And the second after, be back to your normal life, take care of your kid, or even the second after, go back and play music with friends who are completely scattered around the world, but in the same virtual room. So it's a bit dreamy, but it's also, I've seen some startups developing avatar you can interact with and attending some events. It could also be, for example, CEOs having a real employee meeting with all the employees all around the world, gathering on the same virtual space and sharing and interacting about what you hear that is presented. This definitely could have an impact on transport, on the way we use mobility, and also certainly we reduce the need of cars. But when I think about AI and maybe creating a real impact, I'm sure AI will enable the move and the jump into a real circular economy. It will help companies also to design, to incorporate by design full recyclability, full reusability, and this definitely will have a positive impact on the usage of raw material. So I'm quite optimistic that at the end of the day, AI should enable us to move the needle from a situation where we keep on poisoning the planet to a situation where we start healing it.
I'm excited to share that here at Nexus last year, I met a wonderful company from Japan called Ovis. And for the last year, I've been hanging out with my kids while I've been running my global company from a 10-floor digital twin. And it has absolutely changed my life. So it's definitely moving us for the better. And I'm completely carbon neutral, which I couldn't have said when I was jumping on planes before. So it is already coming to life. But Gustav, here's the trillion-dollar question. We live in Europe, and Europe is known for regulation. We're trying to regulate and fund technologies faster than legislation can be written. Are financial markets and regulatory frameworks even capable of financing and governing frontier technologies?
I mean, this is always the difficult question. How do you balance the legislative approach from the economic approach or the economic impact? One thing that here in Europe we are very strong is by providing a clear legal framework for our market operators to know under which conditions they can engage, and in particular with some sensitive technologies. I mean, my colleagues very courageously have done the AI Act, and we are the first one in the world to have a comprehensive legislative act that tells you as a market operator, if you engage in AI as a developer, as a provider of AI service, as a user, under which conditions can you use AI, and what are your obligations and rights. Now, you might argue we went maybe too much into detail, we overdid it. That time will show it, but now the AI Act is implementing. But this allows now to unlock the large investments, and we see this. We are have launched a call for expression interest for the gigafactories. And I mean, I cannot disclose where we are because it's not yet closing. I mean, it will be by the end of the week. But interest that we saw and the interactions we had with the market show that there's a huge interest for establishing these massive computing facilities that will run the largest, most complicated AI models that will allow us to do things we cannot even dream of yet. And one of the clear reasons is we have the clear legal framework that tells you how to engage, and we have also, from history, provided certainty to actors that once we have passed legislation, it's there for good, and it will not, out of the blue say, oh, now we completely changed the approach. So for us, this is quite interesting to see, because if I link this to the previous question about the energy consumption, Europe, for that perspective, is not seen as a competitive disadvantage, that we have higher energy costs, but we have this legal clarity.
And as someone who once built an embedded AI that landed in a Chinese military lab and was exported to 40 countries for oppression, I can honestly tell you that we forgot to build a kill switch. We didn't even think about it. And so with great power comes great responsibility. And I want to hand it over to you now, Zara. Zara, what do you do every day as part of your work to protect the patients and the citizens from unintended consequences?
Great question. So as we all know, pharmaceutical and healthcare is a very highly regulated space. And thanks for people like Gustav. With all these regulations, they are extremely helpful to give us that guidance and that steer. So, and I agree with Elisa 100%. AI is a very powerful tool, but with power comes great responsibility, accountability. So for us in pharma, if we do and leverage AI just to scale and to speed up, that's a big risk. So we need to manage it very, very carefully. So we've actually implemented a 5-principle approach a number of years ago around COVID times. And we've actually published it externally. So AstraZeneca has actually been a leader in this responsible and ethical AI space. And very similar to what Gustav was alluding to, it really talks about 3 things here. Number 1 is having ethics and diversity at design. So before, we used to have diversity and ethics as an afterthought, as we'll do later if we get a chance. We're switching that. Now the conversation is, where's the multidisciplinary team? And that's what we're putting in place, a data and AI governance framework across the entire organization globally, and thanks to the virtual team meetings to be able to connect people from a different parts of the globe without having to travel. And what we do there, we actually designed the study with 3 things, with data and diversity at the very conception. We design it with ethics in place. So is your AI explainable? Is it transparent? Is the data private and secure enough? Because don't forget, we're not only using human private data, but these are vulnerable set of populations. So we've got to be extremely careful there. And the other thing is about, is it fair? So it really boils down to the purpose. When we use AI and digital, the first question we have to ask is, what's the purpose of this? If the purpose is, and I'm going to give an example going back to the cancer use case, if the purpose here is to treat cancer patients, then you must show in your design stage that you're not biased in terms of the cancer patients you're treating, and that your treatment will address different types of demographics. It will address the patients regardless of where they are, going back to Fabrice's point earlier. So that's what we do. The other thing that we do when it comes to AI and ethics is we do a lot of raising awareness and training amongst all our staff. So upskilling comes as a big part, and we do a lot of multidisciplinary teams where the leadership and the very junior folks sit down together in the same room and talks about ethics.
Fantastic. So we've talked about ethics, we've talked about capital, and we've talked about strategy. Quick 30-second roundup. Over to you first, Fabrice. Are we automating inequality or prosperity?
I would just say that we are already there. The technology is there. A lot of compute is being done about maybe how to influencing people. What we can wonder about AI, will it be used to control citizens or to empower them and augment them? But the more fundamental question is, will this augmentation be available to everyone or just to happy fews?
Over to you, Zara.
For me, the important point there, are we doing it with a human-centric approach?
Excellent. And over to you, Gustav.
So can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Are we automating inequality or prosperity?
I mean, the uptake of the technology, the impact we already see now in AI, and we see soon in the future with quantum. If you take image processing AI algorithms for cancer detection, I mean, this is a clear positive impact. Of course, there will be also some negative usage, but overall, the things that the technology is unlocking is making an increase in prosperity and well-being and in safety.
I love your optimism. So if your 2040 selves were watching this panel, what would surprise you and what would shock you? Over to you, Fabrice.
I hope I will not be horrified, but what could horrify me is to see how 15 years from now, how naive we have been to underestimate and maybe to fail in guiding this innovation in the right direction and end up in a society where free thinking has disappeared and where maybe we have reached the point of no return for the planet. But I'm a fundamental optimist. So I believe 15 years from now, we will look at us and maybe we will have underestimated how fast AI can bring good for humanity, being in the medical field, any science field. But mainly also I hope AI will help us now to reverse the trend when it comes to sustainability and the way we treat our planet.
An optimist. Over to you, Zara.
So I'm going to start with the horrified aspect, with Zara 40 years later sitting at the back. I think she'll be thinking or horrified with how much bias we have embedded in our system, but not just that, in our data, particularly in medical and healthcare, because, as I said, things like cancer don't touch a certain types of population. It touches everyone.
Yep, so the bias, and over to you, Gustav, last words.
Let me make an analogy. If you go back in the 1960s, someone clever invented the laser as a spectroscopy tool. Now look where lasers are used, as pointers, as tools to cut metal, for lighting, for measuring, for telecommunications. So in 2040, I mean, you not believe what we will have done with AI and quantum. We cannot even imagine what gold mine we have just entered into.
So in 30 minutes, we have traveled from mobile networks that think to regulations for the unregulatable, to drugs discovered by AI, and to visions of 2040 that will either horrify or inspire us. I'd like to leave you with a parting thought. Please don't forget your leads. Is it legal, ethical, acceptable, defendable, or sensible? And then finally, two parting thoughts. Does this decision change who I am as a person? And does this decision change who we are as a company? Thanks for joining us today at Nexus. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.